Prashantamaya gunakarmalingam anamarupam sadasad vimuktam yanopadashaya grihita deham namamahetvam purusham puranam. And the translation for that one is, O completely peaceful Lord, although material nature, fruitive activities, and their consequent material names and forms are your creation, you are unaffected by them. Therefore, your transcendental name is different from material names, and your form is different from material forms. You assume a form resembling a material body just to give us instructions like those of Bhagavad Gita. But actually, you are the supreme original person. I therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So that was 824. We'll just go through the translations of the other ones, and then we'll go back to the purport of that. So text 25. O my Lord, those whose hearts are bewildered by the influence of lust, greed, envy, and illusion are interested only in false hearth and home in this world created by your Maya. Attached to home, wife, and children, they wander in this material world perpetually. O super soul of all living entities, O personality of Godhead, simply by seeing you, I have now been freed from all lusty desires, which are the root cause of insurmountable illusion and bondage in the material world. O King Parikshit, when Amshuman had glorified the Lord in this way, the great sage Kapila, the powerful incarnation of Vishnu, being merciful to him, explained to him the path of knowledge. The personality of Godhead said, My dear Amshuman, here is the animal sought by your grandfather for sacrifice. Please take it. As your forefathers who have been burned to ashes, they as for your fathers, for forefathers who have been burned to ashes, they can be delivered only by Ganges water and not by any other means. Therefore, Amshuman circumambulated Kapila Muni and offered him respectful obeisances, bowing his head. After fully satisfying him in this way, Amshuman brought back the horse meant for sacrifice, and with this horse, Maharaj Sagar performed the remaining ritualistic ceremonies. After delivering charge of his kingdom to Amshuman, and thus being freed from all material anxiety and bondage, Maharaj Sagar Maharaj, following the means instructed by Aurvamuni, achieved the supreme destination. So that's the end of the chapter. So we will go back and read the purport of 9.8.24, where Anshuman talked about the Lord being the all peaceful. So the purport. Srila Yamunacharya has recited this verse in his Stotra Ratna. Bhavantam evanucharanam nirantaha prashanta nihesha manorata ratantaraha kadaham aikantika nitya kinkaraha praharshiyasmi sanata jivitam. By serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and is completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? Manorate nasati vato bahi. One who acts on the material platform must descend to material activities. Material contamination, however, is completely absent from the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his pure devotee. Therefore, the Lord is addressed as Prashanta, completely peaceful, free from the disturbances of material existence. The Supreme Lord has no material name or form. Only the foolish think that the Lord's name and form are material. Avajanati mamudha manushim tanum ashrita. The identity of the Supreme Lord is that he is the original person. Nonetheless, those who have but poor fund of knowledge think that the Lord is formless. The Lord is formless in the material sense, but he has his transcendental form, Satchit Ananda Vigraha. Magyanat Mirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militamina Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasati Gaur Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Jai. Good morning once again, dear devotees. Thank you very much for having me here. Um, Before I begin, I would like to request all of you, especially the senior most devotees like Adi Prabhu here, to please bless me that I may say something which is in line with our Guru Parampara, which is beneficial to our spiritual lives, and that our hearts become for Jagaram for this life and take root on. So today we're seeing the response of Amshuman to you know, a same situation that his forefathers, the sons of Maharaj Sagar, had encountered. And you know, it's amazing. It's really amazing to see you know, this contrast in what happened here. But let's look first a little bit into the Sanskrit, what it does. Here it says, Namamahe Tvam Purusham Puranam. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, Tvam Purusham, the Supreme Person, Puranam, the original, the oldest in some way, you know, just as Purana means, you know, like the histories, the old things. And who is this Purusham? This Purusham is Grihita Deham. This Supreme Person is the one who has accepted a body. And it's really nice how Prabhupada here has not just said like you have accepted a body, but you has assumed a form like a material body. So Prabhupada here, right from the beginning, he hasn't even gotten into the translation, but he's already putting into the word for word translation. He's saying like this is like a material body. It's not a material body, because in the Sanskrit it's just he has accepted a body. Grihita deha. No, he has assumed a form like a material body. And what is the purpose of this incarnation of yours? It's jnana upadesha. It's meant for instructing knowledge or distributing transcendental knowledge. And Prabhupada here says, as in Bhagavad Gita. So it's like giving it like even more explicit, like how is it that Krishna gives knowledge? It, you know, personally, like Bhagavad Gita. And what more can we say about this Purusha? He is Sat Asat Vimuktam. He is liberated from the Sat and the Asat. In other words, he is transcendental to the material modes of nature, which are manifested and non-manifested. And then he says, what is this Purushan? Who is this Supreme Person? He's also one who is Anama Rupa. He has no name or form. But Prabhupada says here, he has no material name or form. Again, you know, right in there cutting against the impersonal tendencies that somebody might say, oh, they're saying that he has no material name or form. And because of that, towards the end of the purport, you know, he is saying, nonetheless, those who have a poor fund of knowledge think that the Lord is formless. The Lord is formless in the material sense, but he has this transcendental form, Satchidananda Vigraha. And what is this Anamarupam? What is this characterized by? It is characterized, lingam, by the maya guna karma, by the activities and the properties and the qualities in your maya, you know, in reference to maya. And then he says, Prashanta, or completely peaceful one. Now, here is where he begins his purport with this Prashanta, or completely peaceful one, because we have here an interesting situation. You have two different sets of people. You have all of the sons of Maharaj Sagar, and you have Amshuman. And they are encountering the same situation. They see Kapila Muni sitting down and the horse next to him. And what did the sons of Maharaj Sagar do? I'm not gonna do what all the what so many speakers do, which is retell you the whole story, because I'm sure that everybody has been hearing all this story again and again and again every time. So you already know the context. But what happens at this point is that these two people see the same thing, but because of their consciousness, they respond to it very differently. And so this is something that we can take a good lesson from, and it's the fact that depending on our state of consciousness, we're going to go around in the world and we're going to have very different experiences. So because of that, what we do every morning is we perform our sadhana. We are getting our consciousness prepared for the day. And in what way are we preparing our consciousness? We're preparing it to have a view of the Shastra. We want it to be in a way that we are constantly seeing things through the eyes of Shastra. Shastra Chakshush. This is something that we really want to imbibe in us, because then when we encounter a situation, the way that we're going to respond is the way that our consciousness has been filling itself up throughout the recent days. If you only do it for a day, that's good. If you do it for 2 days, that's even better. And if you do it for many years, that's best, because then it's going to come naturally, that response that you're going to have towards this. So what did the sons of Maharaj Sagar do? They said, like, they had this consciousness of, hey, this is the guy who stole our, the horse. Why? Because probably they had that mentality. If you have seen, there are people who are always in the defensive, just like, everybody's out to get me, kind of. And so whenever they encounter a situation, they always become defensive towards that. Everybody's out to get me and I have to defend myself. And then there are other people who are, always fearing everything, or some people that are always ready to make a joke, or there are some people that are there are so many ways in which our consciousness will interact. And these sons of Maharaj Sagar, they became very angry, and they went up to Lord Kapila Dev and they got burned to ashes. Now Amshuman is in the same exact situation. He sees the sage, he sees the different the horse with the different piles of ashes there. And the way that he sees is like, oh wow, look at this person. He is he's so peaceful. Now, when the sons of Maharaj Sagar saw that, they thought, like, he is just there, like lying around, with our horse. But what did Amshuman see? What he saw was here is a very peaceful person, and he asked himself, why is he so peaceful? And so that's how Prabhupada starts here with Jamunacharya, saying that by serving you constantly, one is freed from all material desires and completely pacified. When shall I engage as your permanent eternal servant and always feel joyful to have such a fitting master? And Prabhupada further elaborates that one who acts on the mental platform must descend to material activities. So basically, Bhaktiram Yagatapasam Sarvalokam Maheshvaram Sukritam Sarvabhutanam Gyatmamam Shanti Prijati. The Lord says, who can be peaceful in this world? Who can be peaceful? It's a person who understands, who God is. Why Prabhupada is saying here that if a person is on the mental platform, he must descend to material activities. And material activities means distress. If a person is in knowledge of God, knowing that he is the proprietor of everything, that he is the enjoyer, and that he is a well-wishing friend of everyone, he's going to be peaceful. This person is going to be completely peaceful. And if a person is performing bhakti, if a person's consciousness is immersed in bhakti, then what is the first what is one of the first results of practicing bhakti is that bhakti destroys the kleshas, these different sufferings. So a person that takes on devotional service immediately becomes happy. That's one of the things that why devotees are generally like bright-faced. Prabhupada called them bright-faced devotees, because they're not suffering so much the incoming of the kleshas of these sufferings of the world. So when they see when Amshuman saw this very peaceful sage, immediately he said, "This person has something special. Nobody can be that peaceful." Basically, it's not possible. Even we would say like a fool, a fool, somebody who is intoxicated, is he peaceful? No, he's just asleep. He's just unconscious of what's going on. That's why he looks like he's peaceful, because he's just like unconscious. But he saw like, no, here's a person who is actually conscious and is peaceful. So how do you approach a person like that? How do you approach a person like this? Well, you approach a person like this to inquire submissively from this person. You want to know from this person knowledge, and you render service unto that person, and you do it in a very respectful manner. And then this person will impart knowledge onto you. Generally, what people do is they see an enlightened being, and they come up to that person asking for benedictions, material benedictions. So what is the use of that? Now, there's another way that they approach a person who is enlightened is they want him or her to be a financial advisor. Oh, should I invest in this or should I invest in that? Or a family counselor. Oh, my wife or my husband is doing like that. Or traveling agent. Should I go to this place or that place? They inquire so many things except the most important thing, and it's like, who am I? Who is God? And what is my relationship with the Lord? This is what the sages are really there for us to approach for. The most important thing is to understand from them this knowledge, this transcendental knowledge. And when we do, then we will get the results of Amshuman, which is, so he got something very important. He got instructions from Kapila Muni, as we saw here. Now, an important thing here is that Prabhupada, as I mentioned, is talking about how the Lord, he's giving us some of this transcendental knowledge, and is that the Lord is Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He is the complete form of knowledge, of eternity and bliss. And today, which is Ratha Yatra, like Amshuman, we should approach the Lord having this knowledge in us, that here is Lord Jagannath. Lord Jagannath is a person who is absolutely free from the material contaminations. Here is somebody who is absolutely here is somebody who is absolutely perfect and transcendental, and I should come to this person to offer my love. We have to prepare our consciousness. We have to prepare our consciousness in such a way that we will approach the Lord in the right way. We see that Lord Chaitanya did that before he started dancing for Lord Jagannath. He prayed to him, that I bow my head down, to Lord Jagannath. He prayed to Lord Jagannath, and then he started dancing for him. And he didn't, in when we go today to Radha Yatra, what is going to be our consciousness? Are we just going to come there, say Hare Krishna, Jagannath, Hari Bol, Jai Jagannath, Baba Tume, and then go and talk a little prajalpa with our friends, while we walk down the street and wonder how the prasadam is going to be when we get to the end at Tompkins Square Park and like that. Yes, it will be a nice moment to be able to reconnect with friends that we may have not been able to interact with in a long time because of the pandemic. But our consciousness should be, like Maharaj Sagar, like, let me prepare my consciousness in such a way that I can approach the Lord in the right way, so that I can get the most benefit from this amazing opportunity that I have to see the Lord and to render service unto the Lord in such a joyful way. When a person is when a person is there, when a person is trying to approach the Lord in a mood of submission, in a mood of here is Krishna right there looking at me, then that experience will accelerate us. Lord Chaitanya, he was dancing beautifully in front of Lord Jagannath, and then at some point he decided to test him. He decided to test the Lord, saying, you know what? I wonder if the Lord is actually looking at me. I wonder if he is actually paying attention to what I'm doing, or if he is just there in his cart. So he decided to go behind the cart of Lord Jagannath, just to see if Lord Jagannath was paying attention. Now, everybody, don't try this at home. This is Lord Chaitanya doing this. But Lord Chaitanya decided to go around the cart and see if Lord Jagannath was paying attention. And the cart stopped. The cart completely stopped, and it would not move. And everybody was like pulling and pulling and pulling, and it would not move. So then Lord Chaitanya said, okay, just everybody, well, they had elephants come in and try to push it, and really strong people come. It would not give in. So then Lord Chaitanya said, like, okay, everybody, clear the road and let the Bengali devotees do it. Now, this is a little bit of a comical situation, because the Bengali devotees, I don't know now, but at least back then, they were not known to be like the Herculean type of devotees, like maybe like some of the people from up north in India. They were generally noted because they were short and sweet and nice, and not like the Kshatriya types, the strong people like that. So it was like all of these Bengali devotees taking the robes it's like, okay, we're like, what are you gonna do with that? Like how? And then Lord Chaitanya just put his head on the cart, and then just started moving it with his head, and the cart started moving again, and it was pretty amazing. And then Lord Chaitanya saw, like, yes, my Lord Jagannath is paying attention to me. And Lord Jagannath was not only paying attention to Lord Chaitanya, but he is paying attention to every single one of us. Why? Because he is Jagannath, because he is the Lord of the universe. And the Lord of the universe means the Lord of every single one of us. He is in our hearts. He is the Antaryami. He is there in the hearts of every single person, and he's directing the wanderings of all the living entities. So it's really beautiful to see how the Lord is interacting with himself, Lord Jagannath with Lord Chaitanya. He's having a pastime with himself, and um, Lord Jagannath, when we go down the street, seeing him and dancing for him, he is there looking at us. He is enjoying our festive mood. He's enjoying how we're dancing for him. And guess what? People around us are seeing that. People around us, they're noticing, like, oh, look at these people who are so joyful. And if they have the right consciousness, what's going to happen? They're going to ask, like Maharaj, like Amshuman, they're going to ask, why are these people so happy? How can they be so happy? How can they be so joyful? And then if they have that right set of mind, they're going to inquire from a devotee, my dear sir or my dear lady, please tell me a little bit about what you do. Why, how is it that you can be so happy? And then, that person will begin his or her spiritual life. So that is really, really important, and is that you're not only dancing there for the Lord, but also you are giving an example of what a devotee is. You're representing what a devotee is as you go down the street. What is your relationship with the Lord? You know, is it one of fear? You know, is it one of awe and reverence, or is it this beautiful, joyful one of intimacy? Do remember that this festival is one where it's actually the most intimate, the most esoteric, because we're taking the Lord, who is in the mood of awe and reverence in Dwarka, and we're trying to bring him to Vrindavan, to this place of intimacy, to this place of sweetness, madhurya, and we're trying to bring him into our hearts, as Prabhupada said. We're trying to bring him into our hearts, and specifically, in that mood of intimacy, in that mood of the resonance of Vrindavan. So we are actually, telling the people out there that, look, this is the love of Vrindavan. We're demonstrating to the people, this is the love of Vrindavan. This is the love that you can exchange yourself with the Lord if you come and dance with us. If you come and listen to the beautiful Harikatha, if you come and take some, of the wonderful prasad, come and join our party. Come and join this transcendental party and be happy. Prabhupada said that the whole point of the mission of this Krishna consciousness movement is to make everyone happy, to make all beings happy, and this is the way in which we can make it. It's such a beautiful process that just by being happy for the Lord, now we are also preaching in that way. This is a way of preaching. It's the most wonderful way of preaching, because by your own example, you're showing people, you're giving them a taste of what spiritual life really is all about. Many people think that spiritual life is all about morality, moral codes, but no, spiritual life is all about that exchange of love between the Lord and his devotee. And when we interact with the devotees, then we're also showing them, this is what the spiritual world is all about. These beautiful exchanges of love, which will kill the impersonalist tendencies that everyone has in this world. It's like you can become this close, and especially in New York, where everybody is hankering so much for real personal association, where everybody has been feeling, that impersonalism all the time from day to day. You can show them, like, here's a place where you can bring your guard down, where you can come and love for real, where you can have real exchanges of love with people, where God is in the center. It is now 7:50, and I would like to leave some time for questions, comments, realizations, or really funny jokes. So make them funny.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Murli Gopal Prabhu. There is a question that I posted on the chat box. If you could.
Let me look at it, because I generally don't
also,
look
I
at the
see
chat very
Athena.
much.
Yeah. Also, Athena is raising her hand.
Okay, so which one should I answer first? I don't want to.
You can take the chat
Okay,
one.
so I'll take the chat first. So the anonymous question is: sometimes we hear there is no difference between spirit and matter for the Supreme Lord, for everything emanates from him. So in that perspective, how do we say the Supreme Lord has no material forms and names? Yeah, sometimes we hear that there is no difference between spirit and matter. When our consciousness is such. For a person who has no who is in the mood of offering everything to the Lord, then everything that they see around will be spiritual in that sense, because he's interacting with everything in a spiritual sense. But we do see that things here are deteriorating. Prabhupada talked about how his microphone, it was spiritualized when he would speak Krishna Katha into it, right? So let the example that he would give is that of an iron rod. When an iron rod is an iron rod, it's made up of iron. But when you put it next to the fire, it will become red hot like fire. And it will glow, it will glow like fire. And if you touch something with it, it will have the same effect as fire. But it's still an iron rod. So, everything in this material world, if we have the right consciousness, we can interact with it and be practically like spiritual. But that doesn't mean that it's spiritual, because it will degrade. It will degrade. So it will not. We cannot say that it is spiritual in that sense, but it is spiritual in its functionality. It's functionally spiritual. Now, the Lord and the Lord, his body, is not just functionally spiritual. It is actually spiritual. It is 100% spiritual. It doesn't degrade like us. He is not different from his body. We don't say that the Lord has a material form. We say that the Lord, that his form is the same as him, which is completely spiritual. So I hope that helps. And okay, Mother Athena, you had a question.
Hare Krishna, Murli Gopal Prabhu, Dandavat Pranams. So nice to see you over Zoom. Thank you for speaking today. I had a few questions.
Yes.
So just similar to this question in one sense about kind of material transcendental, you really hammered in again that Krishna has no material form, no material name. And this makes me think about the Mayavadis, and I am person maybe because I didn't grow up in the culture or I'm not Indian body, that the Mayavadi, I guess, philosophy is still a little fuzzy for me. I understand that they believe that God's form is an illusion, and thus an offense to the Lord. And thinks that when the Lord came, he's just an ordinary human being, which is, again, also an offense. But I was just curious if, in one sense, if I had to understand it clearly in my mind, Mayavadis, they are devotees because they believe God exists, but they just believe that his form, they're misinformed and don't have the proper knowledge that his form is transcendental. He does have a form, it's not illusion. So first, I guess, could you say, if I had to, maybe they're outside of the yoga ladder, but are they kind of like Gyanis then? That like, are the Mayavadis, are their destination then Brahma Jyoti because they believe God is formless? But they're doing I'll give a personal example. My aunt, I haven't spent much time with her nor talked to her much, but she spent probably like 30 years of her life, studying philosophy. And when she came to the States, again, just kind of familial, she would speak philosophy and she would tell me, don't be so attached to the form. Don't be attached to the form. But when we would go out to eat, she'll take some rice and put it on the table and say, you must offer it to God. So obviously she's offering to God. She believes in God and knows that you must offer your food. That's in one sense, I don't want to call it some service, but she just on this aspect believes that God has no form, don't be so attached to the form. God is impersonal and formless. So again, circling back, where do the Mayavadis fall in the yoga ladder? I'm guessing they're Gyanis, perhaps. Is their destination the Brahma Jyoti because they're tied to the impersonal form? And then ultimately, just on this aspect that they believe God's form is an illusion, could we not, I mean, in my understanding, they're still considered devotees. They just maybe have a misunderstanding on this aspect. And then from there, I have a few more questions. Sorry, if you could enlighten me and help me clarify. Thank you.
Okay, that's a very good question. So one first thing that I would say is that you have to make a distinction between what a Brahmavadi is and what a Mayavadi is. A Brahmavadi is actually a devotee of the Lord who knows about the form and all that, but prefers to focus on the impersonal aspect of God, right? The Lord, he has three aspects. He has the Brahman aspect, he has the Paramatma aspect, and he has the Bhagavan, the personal form. And the Bhakta, he goes for the personal form. And the Brahmavadi, he goes for the impersonal. So the people that were previously Gyanis, and therefore they were Brahmavadis, were Shukadev Goswami and the four Kumaras. When the four Kumaras smelled the tulsi leaves on the lotus feet of the Lord, they immediately changed from Brahmavadi to Bhaktas. to devotees of the Lord, of the personal form. And when Shukadev Goswami, when he heard the Bhagavatam, he changed his impersonal aspect. He turned into a personalist. So the destination of these Brahma bodies is generally, yes, the Brahman effulgence. The Bhakta will go to the spiritual world to serve the Lord personally. The Brahma bodies want to go to this state, but the Maya bodies are different. The Maya bodies are the ones that say that the Lord's form is an illusion. This is different from the Brahma bodies. Brahma bodies don't say that the Lord's form is an illusion. What they say is that he has a form, but I want to focus on the Brahman. They don't have complete understanding of like the bliss of the ananda that comes from the personal form. So the Maya bodies are actually, as Prabhupada says, offenders to the Lord, because they say that the forms are illusion, and because of that, then what happens? It's very hurting to the Lord. When Advaita Acharya wanted to really make Lord Chaitanya mad, and who is Lord Chaitanya? Is Krishna himself. When he really wanted to to get him like nuts, to make him really angry at him to the point of beating him down, he started speaking Mayavad philosophy, where he said that the Lord's form is an illusion. So that those people, the Lord, they have a different destination. They do not go to the Brahma Jyoti, because they are not purifying themselves. To be able to go to the Brahma Jyoti, you have to purify your consciousness, right? You have to actually do this very hard work to be able to go there. But the Mayavadis, they do not get that. The Mayavadis, they don't get that purification, because they are offending the Lord, saying that there is no, that he has no form, and deviating people from actually taking shelter of a bona fide spiritual path. Nowhere in the Shastras does it say that the Lord's form is an illusion, but they have taken it as such. So I hope that answers your question.
Thank you. So to clarify, that the Mayavadis, they, in one sense, could even go to, you say they would just continue the cycle. We don't know their destination, because in one sense, we could, there's maybe some philosophy that we can appreciate, elevate them beyond, above the material, but ultimately they're really not purifying their heart or even their intellect, and so they will just continue the cycle of birth and death continuously, because they're, in one sense, risen true elevation. Is that correct? So their destination will still just be material, could even be, say, like hell. And is that correct? The Mayavadis?
Yes, because you see them performing, similar things to the devotees, like you see that Shankaracharya himself, he had deities, right? But what is the idea behind worshiping the deity? The idea behind worshiping the deity is not, let me offer love, my love to this deity, to become a selfless servant of this deity. Let me put my false ego aside, and act on the platform of me being an actual, devotee of the Lord, on my actual position. No, what they're thinking is, this is a representation of, the personal Brahman, and this is just a stepping stone for me to eventually become one with him. So the way that Prabhupada puts it sometimes is like, this is what when he was in a hill that it was very slippery with all his students, and suddenly, he started falling. And I think it was Jayapataka Swami that caught Prabhupada, from falling down. And as he was helping him up, Prabhupada, took his arm, turned around, and threw Jayapataka Swami down the hill. And when Jayapataka Swami, got up, he was just like, what just happened? Like, I was helping you up, and now you threw me down. Like, and then Prabhupada said, that is Mayavada.
Interesting. Thank you. I'll just close this out. I apologize. I had just stemming from that, a couple more questions, but it's interesting, and I'll just reflect because I can personally say, my aunt dedicated her whole life to studying philosophy, but when you speak with her, it's her initial intention was just to understand, like, what is the truth? What's the absolute truth? So it sounded like it was a Gyani, but there was no intention to purify the heart. It was just to know it. So it sounded like it was a Gyanic kind of approach, but it doesn't change her lifestyle, and it hasn't changed anything. So there's almost no purification. But I mean, of course, maybe there's something there, but ultimately it's not a bona fide path. And you would say it doesn't even fall within the yoga ladder, correct?
Exactly. So, you judge a fruit, you judge a tree by its fruits, right? You can see what happens, to the devotees' lives. You can see now after, like 40, 50 years, devotees practicing in the by the process that Prabhupada gave, what their lives have been like, what they what they experience, all of these things. And you will get certain, they will tell you the process works. I've gotten this thing from devotees. They tell me, like, the process works. Now, that you cannot say, about all of these, Maya bodies that are generally just, like doing the same thing over mechanically. They're just, like thinking themselves liberated, as Prabhupada says, very. They think themselves liberated, vimukta. But in reality, they haven't purified their hearts. They still have the false ego. They think that because now they have more knowledge, because they have some transcendental knowledge, then they're more advanced, because they can speak nicely, because they have a sattvic lifestyle, maybe, and they're advanced. But no, like, they haven't purified themselves.
But you would also argue, though, that Krishna would ultimately help bring them up because they're doing some sort of service, for example, offering the food, remembering God. So ultimately, maybe in their next lifetime, they would be put on a true bona fide path because they're doing something in relation to, service to the Lord.
The Lord is always trying to help us. He's always trying to help us in whichever way we can. It's up to us, how we receive the mercy. And generally, the Mayavadis have a harder time accepting the mercy than other people, because they think that they know everything now. You see the tendencies, the personal tendencies of the Mayavadis, or people who have gone like that. And it's hard. It's really hard when you start talking to them about the form being the higher, about surrendering to the Lord. It's hard for them now that they've gone through that. To accept that is so hard. So sometimes you even wonder, like, if somebody just isn't in a better position to accept Bhakti than that. And I see that there are 2 raised hands. So maybe I'll allow somebody else to.
Yes,
to I hope that answers your questions.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much.
So who else is raising hands right now?
Indra.
You can ask your question. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. So nice to see you. Okay. well, yeah. I have two questions. One is a little more difficult. So one of them was when you were mentioning in the purport how Prabhupada established that the form I'm trying to remember exactly. He was clarifying that it wasn't a material form, even though the actual translation was different. Do you know what I'm talking about? You specified that in your
Yes.
lecture.
Yes.
So how is it that he can say that, make that change or that tweak without it being considered like not following the parampara or something? Am I making sense?
Yes, because he is following the parampara. But you see, Prabhupada, when he is giving us the translations, he is not just giving us a scholar translation of this thing. Even in the translations, he is putting in the conclusions that are given in the purports by the commentators in parampara.
Right.
So you will see that the commentators of the Bhagavatam, they include afterwards, like in this in their commentaries, like what is it that it was meant when it was said this, what was meant when it was said that. So Prabhupada immediately puts that into the translation so that we can get an understanding immediately from the beginning, like what do they mean by this? Because somebody that just reads the translation may say like, oh, here clearly they're talking, they're saying that the Lord has no form, no name, like that. So that's their conclusion, and Prabhupada wants to eradicate that. What is it? Nip that in the bud.
Yeah.
He wants to like no, that what they mean is no material form, no material name. He wants to make that sure, like right from the beginning. Same thing here. When he says, what is it? Jnana upadeshaya. For the sake of instruction in gyan. And he says for distributing transcendental knowledge. Quote, parentheses, as in Bhagavad Gita. And when he translates it, he puts it there, same thing, just to give us instructions like those of Bhagavad Gita. Now, nowhere did it say in Bhagavad Gita, but he is putting it there so that we can understand, so that immediately, like as we're reading this, we don't have to wait until the end and start, making up all of these, strange things in our head about, impersonal, like throughout the whole the translations and purports, we are always hearing what the end understanding is going to be, and so
Right.
he is completely following parampara.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. So then the other question is, can you clarify your little story about him throwing the devotee down the mountain after he was helping him and saying that's Madhava? Like can you clarify that for me?
Okay, sure. So he was showing that this is what the Mayavadis do. God is helping them. God is trying to help them, come up. They're falling into the material pool, in the ocean of material existence, and the Lord is trying to pick them up. And what do? They're trying to overturn God, like I am God. I'm going to worship God, in this beautiful deity form. Here's this thing, here's that thing, just so that at the end I can say like, now you get out, I am God.
Right. Okay. Thank you.
That is. And I think that Athena also has a question. If there is time, can you please comment on why the verse would say assume a form resembling a material body. This is where I feel like the Mayavadis would point that is ultimately formless. If God had form, verse would probably say Krishna came down as himself. That statement then automatically means that his form is him, transcendental. Or is this just the English? It's just an English thing, because the word here is grihita deham. You have taken a form. You have taken a body. That's what it means. You have taken a body. So how does Prabhupada translate that? You have taken a body. You have accepted a body. You have assumed a form. It's you can take it like that. Yeah, in any of these, in any of these, but in this, it itself is saying that this grihita deha, is anama rupam. It's a form. It has no name or form. So it's like, wait, hold on a second. That's what should make you think twice. It's like, first of all, they're telling me it's grihita deha. You're one who has taken a body, but then it says you're one who has no name or form. So how could a body have no name or form? You see that there is that immediate. So that should make you wonder, like, wait, if he has taken a body but has no name or form, what does that mean? And then it is specified later, that it's this no name or form that is characterized by activities, guna karma, the activities and qualities of Maya, related to Maya. So therefore, it must be a nama and a rupa that is, free from this karma and guna of Maya. So that's how you can resolve this apparent contradiction.
Murli Gopal,
But there is no true.
did you complete? Oh, sorry for interrupting.
Yes, I'm done.
I know it's late, but I have a small question. Can I just ask you?
Okay, sure, Prabhuji.
I'm sorry. When that particular line that Athena is quoting says, like, you assume a form resembling a material body just to give us instructions like those of Bhagavad Gita, but actually you are the supreme original person. So in one sense, it does, to be very, very honest, just I'm asking you because you can clarify, like, it does not make too much of a sense for me in terms of English also, because you assume a form resembling a material body. That means, like, does it mean that Krishna or any avatar of the Lord come, their body externally looks like a material body, like even though it is spiritual, does it behave like a material body? Like, what is it? How does it, how do we understand that?
Does it behave? I mean, Krishna ate. Krishna ate, and he slept. So it acted like and like an ordinary human being. The thing that we have to see is that he is acting out as a human being, but he is not a human being. He is a supreme person.
Okay.
So when he becomes a baby, that doesn't mean that he is any less. When he says, when he's not, he's saying goo goo gaga, and he he's just trying to roll on his back, and he's not able to do it, but he's still the supreme person, even though he has assumed that form, and he's playing out, like a defenseless little baby that can't even speak, can't even roll on his back, onto the side, and like that. He's still the supreme person. with all his potencies. That's one of the things that they say when Putana demon came and she saw the baby. He closed his eyes because she could somewhat intuit that this is a powerful being. This is the supreme personality of Godhead. But the fact that he assumes that form doesn't make him less. He assumes that form for a specific pastime. And he will act out that specific pastime. When he becomes a hog, that doesn't mean that he is a hog. He's just assuming that, and he will behave like that. I mean, he snorted, and he roared, like a boar, and he did the activities of a boar, which was like go out and look in dirty places. So it does behave like that, but he is always still supreme, absolute, pure, and powerful personality of Godhead. I don't know if that answers.
Thank you, bro. What if I can summarize? You mean like even though he acts like a child or he acts like a boy, still he's not the same. There is like a resemblance of a material activities or like regular normal human being, but still he retains this position as a supreme lord. And just by this discussion, I personally, for after a long time in this topic, I just feel like really bewildered, because like I've heard prayers by Kunti Devi, Bhishma Dev, Uddhava, all of them saying, "Oh, the Lord is so bewildering, no one can understand. He looks like he runs away like a smart person who's fearful of his enemy." Or I'm like, okay, I understand. He's like, but today I really feel bewildered, because it's even though we try to analyze so much, it's still so not very like. Now I understand the Lord is inconceivable, because we can just like hold him down by my intellectual capacity, which is like very minuscule. So I understand that I cannot understand fully, but I have some perspective of what you're giving me. So thank you, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, it is bewildering, because in some way, like, we hear that the Lord is omnipotent, omnipresent. He has so many shaktis. He's the source of Mahavishnu and Garbhodakashali Vishnu and Kshirodakashali Vishnu. He's the source of all the devatas, and all the material and spiritual worlds and all these things. But then it says that he like like a like an actor. They generally say like that, like an actor. He plays the role of a human being, just for pastimes. So you go, you try to understand that. It's like, well, he is like an actor, but at the same time, he's being himself. So like how does it is bewildering, but it is one of those beautifully bewildering things, where you actually appreciate God for being conceivable. You hear about these things, and you internalize them to understand really how inconceivable is the Lord. But instead of making you like more instead of making you like more stressed out, because how could it be like this thing, it actually like or instead of making you go like, well, maybe that's inconceivable, instead of putting it aside and saying like, I will never understand that, so whatever. No, when you actually understand this point, you become enlivened, because you go like, how wonderful is God, that he is this inconceivable, that I cannot capture him.
Adi Pushpa would be very happy about your conclusion that you said how wonderful is Krishna.
How wonderful is Krishna.
So, like one small thing. Sorry for exploiting your.
Okay.
Is the form in the material world that the Supreme Lord takes, and his form in the spiritual world. Is there any difference?
Between the form, well, that's a very tricky question. That's a very tricky question, Prabhu. Because in a sense, like you could say, like, no, the Lord's form is absolute. You know, it's Satchit Ananda Vigraha, and it's absolute. Then again, one can also talk about how, you know, in the material world here in Gokul Vrindavan, right? He displays a form which is like, for example, a baby for his Kaumara, and then for his Pauganda age, which is generally not exhibited in uh, Goloka Vrindavan, in the spiritual world. So, you know, the patterns that he has here, and because in the spiritual world, he's always, what is it? How is it? Can't remember the 15 years, blah blah, and something and a half days. There's a
Kaishura?
specific, yeah, yeah. There's a specific measure of, you know, how old he is exactly, you know, up to like half a day. That's how precise it is, like up to like half a day, you know, of, and he is permanently that age, and he will, and you don't see that but what about, you know, like his, when he's a baby. So here in the material world, he takes that form, but that form is still absolute, it's still his, like that, but it just changes. uh so in a way it is, it is always Satchit Ananda Vigraha. He's still Krishna, but it may change functionally so that he can give, you know, prominence to different devotees. It is said that in his Kaumara age, he takes a form uh, that is especially dear to uh, to facilitate, you know, the loving exchanges with the parents, you know, with those devotees who are in a parental mood. Then his Pauganda age, he takes a form which is specially suited, you know, to facilitate the loving exchanges with his devotees who are in the Sakya Ras, as his friends. And then in his Kaishora Leela, you know, when that body is specially meant, you know, to facilitate exchanges with his devotees who are in conjugal love.
Thank you. I appreciate that answer. Like how he manifests certain forms which is not there, and even in the spiritual world. Still, that is the purpose is to actually facilitate the spiritual enjoyment of the Lord and his devotees. So I appreciate that. And on a lighter note, if somebody like really says like, is there a difference between the form and the material world and the spiritual world? And that's why the question that I sent you said, like, there is, in one sense, there is no difference between matter and spirit for the Supreme Lord. Like, yeah, but I understand what you're trying to explain. Yeah, it makes sense to some extent. For me, I can say I feel a little bewildered today, but I feel my bewilderment is in a good space, like where I feel close to Krishna and appreciative of Krishna. Thank you.
I'm
That's
I
very,
still I see Mother Indira's Satina.
Oh,
Is it?
I just wanted to, if possible, just I want to make sure I understand then, because I'm still bewildered by that translation again, the assuming taking on a material body just to give us like Bhagavad Gita. There is no assuming, there is no taking on. He has a form. But maybe from what I'm getting from this explanation, and I've written this in the chat box too, is that in, for example, Goloka Vrindavan, he's forever this one age, because he's like the 16-year-old Krishna. but maybe an explanation of him taking on, I guess, a material body is an age or I don't want to say a form different from what he is manifesting in this. Well, because he's also Vishnu in the spiritual world, say in Goloka Vrindavan, to have these pastimes. So he'll be Balakrishna, then he'll be. Is that an explanation? Sorry, I was jumbled, but essentially, Krishna is always 16-year-old boy in Goloka Vrindavan, and when he comes down, then he will take on different quote unquote ages to have different pastimes. And could that be an explanation of what it means to quote unquote assume a material form?
He assumes a form, but it's not a material form. Material means that it's going to degrade. That it's not that is not Satchit Ananda. That's what it means, right? Now, we can say that it's Sat because this form of the Lord may be temporarily manifested here, but it's always being manifested in some universe. So it's always Sat, not like our form, which is manifest for only, it starts and finishes and that's it. It's gone. His form, is manifesting in different universes all the time. So it's Sat. It's Chit, because the Lord, has complete knowledge of everything all the time. And it is Ananda, because he's always, feeling bliss in that form. It is always such an Ananda. The material forms are Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. So he never takes on a material form. He always, if you see like all the purpose of Prabhupada, he always says like Lord's form is always such Ananda. It's not material. Krishna has two different energies. He has his external energy and he has his internal energy. His internal energy is Satchit Ananda. His material energy is Asat, Achit, and Nirananda. And this one is this Satchit Ananda is also, because of the Chit, is always conscious. The one that is taken on, the forms that are created by Maya, by this material forms, they are achit, which means that they are unconscious, they are dull. So Krishna is not different from his body, and it's such an Ananda. We are different from this body, which it's not conscious, it's not eternal, and it's definitely giving us so much trouble. And if you don't believe that, wait a couple of years.
Yes, Prabhuji, I'm sorry. The more I speak with devotees, you have to be so exacting. Especially, I also learned from Jai Jagannath, and sometimes I like to take shortcuts. I was referring to the verse, but yes, you learn to be so exacting because it's such a specific science. And thank you for that explanation. But yes, I was referring to that him taking on a form resembling material body. But I like I'm gonna let everything you mentioned sit in, and I think I like the explanation you gave prior to my question, and really he's assuming these different forms, again, not material, just to enact these pastimes, which this form might be different from, or this age in one sense is different from Goloka and Vrindavan. But yes, understood, his form is never material. And I apologize for taking shortcuts. And again, I have to be so exacting when I speak to devotees, especially intellectuals and philosophers. So thank you so much. This is very helpful. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, no, it's always wonderful to talk about the Lord's form, names, qualities, pastimes. That's what we're meant to do as devotees. And I so much enjoyed when I was reading through the Nectar of Devotion. These chapters where it talks about all of these qualities of the Lord. And talks about, like what are the different forms of the Lord as Kaumara, as Poganda, and Kashor, these different ages. What was his form like, and what did it facilitate at those times? It was also nice to see, like, for example, his qualities, just like such beautiful qualities that the Lord has, and knowing, like, wow, this is a great person, this is an incredible person that I want to meet. The more we talk about it, the more we go into it, it's like yeah, like, I want to be with Krishna. I really want to know this person, and these forms that he takes on is like amazing. And these different forms, they will create a special ecstasy in devotees according to their relationship with him. They will inspire. So, for example, a person who is in the Vatsalya ras, that is in the parental mood, when they hear the descriptions of Krishna's body as a baby, they're just gonna go like, oh wow, like, so cute, such a cute baby, and their loving devotion is just gonna start, like, welling up, like into it. And somebody that is in the Palgan, as a Saka, in Sakuras, as a friend, when they hear, how Krishna is like, is like strong, and is yeah, and he has like this hair that he ties in, in a bun, or sometimes lets it down, and he is running around in the forest, like wow, like that's amazing. Like, I want to go and be with him, and have adventures with him. Like, imagine that. Like, every day is an adventure with Krishna. You go and have adventures with Krishna every day, and that's your service. Your service is go out and have adventures with Krishna, and that they're going to be good adventures. And same thing, like when somebody's in the Vatsalya ras, the descriptions of Krishna are just going to be like so enchanting that they're going to go like, he's stealing my heart. He's stealing my heart. That's how Rukmini became so attached to Krishna. She just heard about him, about, and she was like, wow, I want to marry this person.
Thank you so much, Murli Gopal, for your time and amazing explanations. And thank you, Athena and others, for also contributing to the discussion. Very grateful. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Thank
you.
Thank you.
A wonderful Ratha Yatra today, and dance and sing for the Lord with all your hearts.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And offer a prayer for me, please.
Hare Krishna. For me too. I'm in India. Hare Krishna.